Hey everyone, I'm Clive.
Hey, Louis here.
Mehdi.
And today we're going to talk about how Revit has just got smarter, and hopefully you'll see the workflow as more integrated between defining requirements and using them to create models, and then having an output with a model that's actually useful and follows those requirements afterwards. Louis, what do we see in the workflow before this add-on? What were some of the challenges that you've seen?
Where do I begin, right? As a past Revit user, I've seen it all, really, where, the requirements that are being mandated are coming from a certain group of individuals, maybe clients and managers, and the people who are actually implementing them are not in the same room, or were not there when that time came. So understanding those requirements has always been a challenge. Usually when you receive those requirements, they come in a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet that, one, is probably complex and difficult to understand, but then you end up having to go through this tedious workflow of implementing those requirements inside of Revit, and having to come up with a workflow or come up with Revit schedules to make your life easier to implement those parameters inside of Revit, and having to fill in those values that are required by the client or whomever is asking for them. And then obviously we finally get to the point where we've implemented them, and how do we check them? How does the client or the manager or the consultant who's asking for these requirements actually go through and check? There's really challenges at the higher level of implementing, and then all the way down to those who are actually adding them and then checking them. So many different challenges that I'm sure many of you have experienced, and why you're here today.
And people have been putting some workarounds in place to be able to do this.
Totally. Yeah. It's definitely not the same from project to project. Even in the same organization, we all kind of chose our own personal method or preferred method among ourselves. So as a standard, definitely not something that teams talk about and say, hey, how are we going to do this regularly?
Yep. So Mehdi, you saw this, and I love the fact that from a government perspective, there was a drive as well. Can you share more?
Yeah, in fact, in Luxembourg, in Belgium, the government tried to standardize the way how to implement BIM in the company. So we have a beautiful website here. It's bimids.eu, where you can find a lot of information about BIM, a lot of information about a project, a milestone, use case, and everything is on this website. And it's pretty good website, but the way to use it's a little bit complicated how to put everything on my Revit to do the job, in fact. So the idea was to create this plugin and to import information inside Revit. So the way we did that, in fact, on Plannerly, we recreate the website, all the information in the Plannerly, and then we send the information on the Excel file, and we import the Excel file directly on Revit. We don't use the IDS XML file. We use the Excel. So it's easy way to do it, because unfortunately on the IDS, we don't have enough information to implement all the parameters within Revit. So this is why we create a connection between Plannerly and our tool. As you can see in this slide, this is our tool. It's like a tool palette, a properties tool palette within Revit, with all information that you can create on Plannerly. You have an option. You can also check the value of the parameters, but we will see that in the live session.
I think that's an important point. We've all seen in the industry Building Smart come out with a great specification, a way of defining structured requirements in an information delivery specification, an IDS file, and Plannerly supports that. There are some plugins that are ingesting an IDS file, but there is additional information that is not transferable at the moment in the current IDS schema that is needed, that's required in making this streamlined and seamless. So that's a really an important point, and I'm sure that there are other things that will be added to the IDS schema and that might enhance this workflow using IDS as well in the future. So did you want to share a bit more and take us away?
This is my screen.
Cool.
Yeah. So now I am in Plannerly. So I create a test project, a little project that you can understand the way how we did that. So in Plannerly, you have a group here and you have milestone. So you have to create group and milestone. Then you create some folders. Let's say on the architectural element, we create a group. And as you can see here in the group, we specify the Revit OST name. This is really powerful in Revit because we use that as a filter. We place also the IFC class and the IFC type. And of course, at the end, we have parameters here. So I specify, create some parameters for the test purpose. So IFC class, IFC type is external, all our properties. What we have done also in Plannerly, we create on description a code because you can map Plannerly property with a built-in Revit properties. If you know the built-in name, you can link both with this. So you can create your own parameters. You can use, as you can see here, a description plus the special code here. You can use true, false to specify a number, to specify a date. If the value need to start with a special character, all this stuff you can create within Plannerly, and then we export all this information in Revit. Also, I forget to tell you, you have also the team. So, for instance, architectural element is for the architect team, but you have also this pump is for MEP team and also the structural team. As you can see here, you have the group, milestone, team, properties, OST, and the class and IFC type. When you have done that, you just export the Excel file. Easy. You export the Excel file and then you go to Revit and you import the Excel file. I can show you now in the Revit. So when you install the plugin on Revit, you have the BIM idea tab up here. So you can go to the config and you have the built-in configuration. This is the configuration only for Belgium and Luxembourg. So maybe some people know, but in Luxembourg, you can talk several languages. You have Luxembourgish, German, French, English. So you have to provide some built-in for English, French, and German. And for Belgian part, you have also Dutch configuration. So this is the built-in. When you install the plugin, you have this configuration already for you. And this configuration follow, of course, the BIMIDS.eu recommendation, but you can of course, import a configuration. So when you go to the browse, you go to the pop-up demo config file. So it's the Excel file from Plannerly. You open it, let's say demo. So I import the Excel file inside Revit. So what I have now, I have a new one, a new configuration that you can update with a new version, or you can, of course, delete it. When I close that, and now when I press my palette button here, so you can go to the version on the global setting. You can choose, I'm going to choose demo for today. So then you select the team, engineer, architect, or MEP, let's say architect. And you say, I call that the phase, but in fact, in Plannerly, it's the group. I can select the group. I can save my global setting for my project. And then if I select something, okay. So on the top of the list, you have wall because I select a wall. So I can choose a component wall and I can choose the use case or the milestone. So you have 3 use cases or 3 milestone. It's like a big filter, in fact. Let's say I want to have only minimum requirement. So this information need to require for the minimum requirement. If I select optional requirement, I have more information. Architectural design, more information. As I mentioned before, also for the status, if you remember, you can link a built-in parameter. This is automatically linked with this parameter phase created. So you can see here when I change information in my tool palette, it will change also in Revit. You can specify is external, it's a yes, no parameter. You have also the name here, and you have this little red bubble. So it means you have to specify information. It's a requirement, let's say something. So when you specify the information, the bubble disappears. So you are, in fact, check the information within Revit. You can update all the parameters with values, and then you are okay to share the information with somebody. And here, as you can see here, you have 86% completed. And if you need to specify classification, you have 100% completed, because also on Plannerly, you can specify it's a parameter is required. You need to specify a value, or you don't need to specify a value. For some parameters, you have to specify a value. For this parameter, you don't need. As you can see here, you have also IFC wall. The IFC class is automatically populated for me. IFC wall here. If I select masonry, you have also IFC wall, the type solid wall. and they automatically on my Revit create for me. So I don't need to think to specify a special class or type IFC class or IFC type. It's automatically for me because I already make the configuration inside Plannerly. So of course, if you say, oh no, it's not a wall, it's a door, you can specify it's a door. So now it brings all the parameters for a door. You see here, you have a specification as drive, yes or no, operation type, you have to specify information here, and that's it. You have to select an object, or you can select several objects. You can see here is the window. So it's the first in the list. It's the window. I have all my parameters. Okay. So depends of your team. If you are, let's say, an MEP engineer and you select the window, you have nothing because nothing to specify as an engineer. You have nothing to specify. So if I select a duct element, let's go back here. I am engineer MEP, you can change the milestone here, save it, select the duct again. So now I only have the list for MEP team. So it's let's say a rigid pipe, and I need to specify minimum requirement. You can see here you have sanitary HVAC design because I am MEP engineer now. I can have more information, IFC pipe segment here, IFC type, you also the status, and so on and so on. What I want to show you also, which we work on. So if I import a new configuration, if I go into browse and select the test regex, so you can see, let's say regex here. So I swap to regex now. It's a new configuration. I only have one discipline, only one phase. It's okay for now. If you select that, it's only one use case. It's just a quick example to show you what you can get inside Plannerly. In fact, let's say a number less than, you have a tooltip, enter a number less than 15. If you say, okay, 12, we valid the information. If you say 18 is wrong, as you can see here. And so we use get within Plannerly here. Test is exactly MEP, so I need to specify MEP, and it's okay if I say MEZ. Doesn't work. Text contain information. You have a text start with, text end with, text does not contain, number between two values, 5 and 10. Let's say 8, it will work. Let's say 4, no validation. So I think this tool helps the BIM modeler to do his everyday work to follow the requirement that the BIM manager place on Plannerly. And you can have a date picker here, and you can select a date. So this tool, you don't have this tool, in fact, in Revit out of the box. If you select let's say the Luxembourgish configuration in English, let's say English here. So I load information, architect, the phase here, let's say number 3, save. So now you see, now we load all the share parameters inside my Revit. Select the wall. You have many classification, as you can see, but on the top you have the wall. I can select, a wall here and my use case. So as you can see here, you have a many use case. You can tick what you want. You have a lot of information, and you have also what I want to show you here is the drop-down list. So on Plannerly, you can prepare all the information. You need to select only this value. So no mistake, you select this value, that's it. It's validate. As you can see also here's load bearing. When you tick here, it's a built-in parameter. In fact, you tick the structural element for this wall. You have the classification and always the class here. I think it's okay. I explained everything, I think, in my side. So,
I love it. I love it. Maybe while we're taking some questions as well, we can keep your screen on. I love the fact that historically, it's been a challenge for owners to specify what they want. So if you're an appointing party and you say, this is my EIR, these are my exchange information requirements between these parties, we've tried to make that really simple for them to do. As a result, it's created more work for that MEP engineer creating models. And as I think Louis mentioned, having one screen with a PDF and trying to understand what the requirements are and building that into a model, it's not a very efficient process. So you saw that as an opportunity. What were some of the hardest parts of building the integration, some of the kind of moments where you were like, is this going to work?
It's always, everything is a challenge. In fact, in my mind, I'd always think, okay, I need to do something very easy, very smooth for I'm still a BIM modeler. I know how to create a building here, but I need to have a tool. I need to be confident on this tool. And I don't need to think always, I need to specify this information, do this information, and think everything is already filled for me. I need to follow the tool palette, in fact. And what was a challenge, in fact, I don't really know. Everything was a challenge to create this tool. Yeah. But, if you have a good idea, you can do a lot of stuff. Everything is possible, in fact. And if you give ye the power, you can do it. But yeah.
I just really like how while you're modeling and you have this tool palette, you can always have the tool palette from Revit open, but you don't know which parameters are required and the values that you need.
Yeah.
This, as you're modeling and you have this tool palette up, it's telling you that these are incomplete or these need to be filled out. So in that moment of modeling, you're kind of knocking two things out at once if you have those requirements ahead of time, obviously. But yeah, like Clive mentioned, you're not looking at a PDF and an Excel spreadsheet, and you're not doing two things at once. You're just going through your typical workflow, having this up, and then seeing what parameters need to be filled out. You can select all the walls in the project and then implement all that data all at once, and not have to go back and create Revit schedules and see which ones are empty and which ones are filled in and the values. So it's really, that effort is coming in at the same time as when you're doing the work.
There's a question, a statement and a question, I suppose. It says from Kevin, seems extremely time consuming and manual. Could you compare what the previous workflow was before and how you sort of compare the time it takes to do without the plugin versus with the plugin?
Yeah, the old version, let's say, you have to create all the shared parameters in Revit, and you have to link also the parameters to the Revit categories to do it manually. And then when you select an object, you have to enter the value for all this information in the classic tool properties. With this palette, you don't need to do that. In fact, you load the Excel file, it's already done for you. Of course, you have to create the information in Plannerly. For Luxembourgish and Belgian, it's already done. If you follow the government track, just click on the button, it's already done for you. You don't need to do anything. But now, if you are an architect and you want to have the same information for all your BIM modeler, you can use Plannerly, prepare the information, and then spread the information in the entire on the project. So you save time. And what you have here, and you don't have also on the classic tool properties, is the possibility to have to check the information and the drop-down list. This drop-down list, you don't have that. Typically here in Luxembourg, in fact, sometimes you choose to have all information in French or all information in German or all information in English. So with this list, it's clear. It will be German, French, or English, or this value,
Yeah, to summarize some of that, it's if you don't have the plugin, you have to use the native workflow, have to build all of the properties and the values and work with a long list based on everything rather than a very targeted list along with the allowable fields as well. I think that part is the workflow that streamlines if you have the exchange information requirements. And I think the point to this is you'll only need to do this if you are having somebody say, this is what I want in the model. These are the properties. And from a government perspective, that's established some locations. So in Luxembourg, it is as a requirement. And if you've got an owner saying these are the requirements, it makes that workflow a lot easier for teams. Another question, do you push parameters from the plugin into Revit? And if yes, is there any likelihood there'll be duplicates?
Duplicate parameters. It's not possible to have duplicate parameters. I have a special stuff. No, it's unique parameters with one GUID. So I don't have this kind of problem. It will be unique.
Basically, it recognizes if there's that parameter already exists and
exactly
it takes in the value, right?
Special source.
And we have the same name with a 1 between brackets. So it's not the same parameter. I didn't mention, but because it's German configuration, French configuration, and also English configuration, what we have done, in fact, the name of the parameters on our tool palette could be different than the name in the Revit property tools. Okay, could be different. So in fact, we still have a fire rating, but it will be translated in French for the French people, German people, or English people in the tool palette. So it's really nice to have this kind of possibility. Let's say this example, you receive fire rating with a space between the fire and the rating. And because the IFC mapping is a fire rating with no space, if you check in here, it's no space between the fire and the rating. So it's automatically sent via IFC. If you export as an IFC file, you already have fire rating with the good name for the IFC, but in our palette, it's fire space rating.
Yep, human readable and machine.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Another question. So from Daniel, does it work to do something like select all instances and assigning the parameter inside the plugin for all selected objects at once?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You can select one object, select all instances in entire project, and then you have all information populate. IFC window for this class, for all this window, and you have a number, let's say number. Now, if I select this one, we have the number here, which is the tag.
Cool. Lots of nice comments as well. Is the shared parameter saved in a separate SP file for Planoly, the shared parameter file?
Yeah, it's in fact, we have a config behind the scene. You have a config, which is a CSV file, in fact. And when you go to the Manage tab, Share Parameters, it's a classic share parameter file behind the scene.
But it's separate from the existing. It's actually a Planoly shared parameters file that's separate? Or?
No, in fact, we only need an Excel file from Planoly. And beyond the scene, I create the share parameter files, all the mapping, everything. The Excel, it's enough to do the job.
Very cool. Yep. And if there are more questions, please share them in the chat. As you went through this process, you said the whole thing was a challenge, but were there any sort of aha moments or parts where it actually just like, oh, that's now the right thing to do? How is it that we didn't do this before?
Yeah, the big challenge was to create all these filters. In fact, you have to filter with the discipline, the phase of the project, because the parameters at the beginning phase or at the end are not the same. In fact, you have more parameter at the end for operation at the beginning. It was a big challenge to do all this affectation. You have now you see you have more parameter because I am in the phase 4. So you are close to the end. You have a lot of parameters at the end. So it was a big challenge to put all together, in fact, but we did it. So, but it wasn't easy.
For me, I think the filter to isolate your team or your responsibility, because we can always give you a list of requirements, but having to figure out which belong to me versus the next team, I think the isolation in there is just, for me, more important, because these are the ones that I need and I know I've filled them out. Move on to the next. And when the next person jumps in and selects that same object, they could be a different team, like you said, 4 milestones away, and they're filling in their requirements at that time because those responsibilities have been separated. So that's something that's not so transparent in Excel files and big PDF files. And this is doing that hard work for you of filtering your responsibilities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, are there going to be tutorials somewhere available?
Yeah. In fact, when you go to the help button here, and I can show you on my screen, you are here. It will be in French, German, and also English. So let's go turn to English here. And so you have a full tutorial. And then also we create some YouTube 1-minute video to explain how to use the tool here. So you can learn how to use it and you can try and play around.
Great.
Is there a certain Revit version? What Revit versions are compatible?
23, 24, 25, and we go to do the 26 soon.
Perfect.
Great. And what's next? So what's the vision for this? How does that look?
Yeah, a quality control. I want to create a new button here to have a global view of all the projects, like a big schedule with all the classification, all the information. And then you can create a report of your parameters, and you can check the information. It will be the next step, in fact, create this global vision of all the projects.
Great. If people want to get their hands on it, so people are saying, looks great, amazing, can't wait to test it with my team, what's the best next step?
So in fact, I placed the plugin on the Autodesk store. You know the Autodesk store, so it was today. So you have to wait 2 days before to have the plugin on the Autodesk store. So it will be quickly on. Otherwise, you can also send me an email. I can send you the tool. But the best way to access to the tool, it's on the Autodesk store. It's secure. You go to the Autodesk and you download and you can use it.
Great stuff.
I will give you the link by email. We can share that.
Yep. And can you share the link for that tutorial page in the chat? We'll also send a follow-up email with this workflow. We're looking for people to tell us what's next, test it out, and see what works for you and what you would like to be added. Mehdi is going to be all ears, I'm sure, to hear that feedback and to continue to improve it. And then I can see other questions. Can the workflow go full circle? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You are then saving a Revit file or publishing it to ACC or exporting an IFC file. And that IFC or Revit file can then be checked inside of Plannerly against the original requirements. So that workflow is possible.
And I can add something. You can also create a task. You can link the task to the BIM idea classification, which in fact the name that you can see here. You see this name in my property? So it's the classification that you can find, component slab, roof. So you can link that and you can do the quality control within Plannerly easily.
Great stuff. This is great as a starting point and to share with the audience. We've had a lot of people asking for this and we understand why. And we think that there are great partners like Mehdi around the world that are developing great tools. And there's a workflow here to support another tool that we fully support as well. And if there's anything that we can do for that connection to be present, we're here to do that. But really, Mehdi is the star of the show and has really taken the bull by the horns, whatever the right phrases are, the bit in his teeth and being able to run with this. So I really want to congratulate Mehdi. And we pushed him a little bit to share his story and to come on a little bit earlier than he maybe wanted to. But everyone that's on the call now, you'll get early access and be some of the first to be able to put this in place. And yeah, as I mentioned, the feedback from your experience is really what we're looking for. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Mehdi, for sharing your story and being very open with the audience. And yeah, thanks, Louis, for sharing your frustrations that you've seen in your own workflows and architecture practice. Watch this space. There'll be more and more of this.
Hey, everyone.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Please join us on that ISO 19650 LinkedIn group. And we've got more events coming and everything will be uploaded to YouTube channel. So, yep, the Autodesk App Store, the plugin will be available very soon. Grab any of our contact details, Mehdi as well there, so that you can connect with him on LinkedIn and follow this journey, follow this story. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Bye for now.
Bye.